There are few game franchises that I've played more than the Pikmin series. After all, Pikmin 2 was one of, if not my number one, favorite game when I was a kid. Honestly, it's still easily in my top 5 games of all time, and I love the whole series dearly. That said, if there's one series that I've played more than Pikmin, it's definitely the Pokemon games. I've loved the Pokemon series pretty much as long as I can remember. Trying to complete Pokedexes in different games, trading and battling with my friends in the neighborhood, and staying up past my bedtime trying to beat a gym leader were regular occurrences throughout my entire childhood. I still come back to these games and replay them time and time again, and I even keep up with new games information and watch the competitive scene from time to time. This obviously begs the question, Akina, everyone has a favorite Pokemon. What's your favorite? Well, my favorite Pokemon for my whole life has been Cyndaquil. This little critter was my starter Pokemon of choice on my first time ever beating Pokemon Heart Gold when it first came out, and ever since then, I've been attached to the little guy. I always picked him when I replayed Johto games, and I always made it a point to transfer one to other games when it was reasonable, just to have a Typhlosion on my late game team. Heck, I've spent hours looking for one when I play Pokemon randomizers, just praying there's a wild Cyndaquil available somewhere. I even got a little Cyndaquil plush as a kid that I still have today. He's still hanging out in my bedroom. Well, now that I'm a grown man and I'm far better at these games compared to when I was just a little kid, I want to answer the question that 10-year-old Akino was just dying to know. Could I beat an entire Pokemon game with just my favorite little guy and nothing else? So here we are. I want to answer this question once and for all. Can I beat all of Pokemon Crystal with just one Cyndaquil? The rules of this little challenge are pretty simple. Number 1, in combat, I can only use my one Cyndaquil. Number 2, I'm going to need a few other Pokemon to use HMs to travel the world, but I won't be using any of them in battle, just for travel. Number 3, no glitches or other exploits like that. I want to do this clean and fair. Number 4, I also won't be using any items in battle. Only Pokeballs to catch HM users, held items, and healing items outside of battle are going to be used. Number 5, if there's any serious leveling that I really need to do, especially late game, I'll probably just be using rare candies, just so I don't go insane with the god-awful grinding situation in Pokemon Crystal. I'll be writing the script as I go through this challenge, so I'm writing this before I've even started the game. That said, I think I can definitely beat the league and all of the 16 gyms across Kanto and Johto, though the secret final boss could prove really challenging. If you disagree though, feel free to flame me in the comments and call me a dumbass. A Canadian guy with a fossil once told me that it's good for the algorithm or something like that. Oh, while you're down there, if you enjoy this, leave a like on the video and consider subscribing. I usually don't plug this stuff, but it really does help me a ton. Alright, that should cover everything. We've got a region full of Pokemon to conquer. At the start of my journey, I picked Cyndaquil as my starter, obviously. This little guy right here is all we need to take this challenge on. I named him Quilliam. I don't know why, I just think it's really funny. What, you got a better name? Anyways, we head out of the lab with our Cyndaquil. We see a creepy looking dude looking outside of Professor Elm's lab, so we ask him what he's doing and he throws our ass out. Hey, not my problem, I'm just running an errand for Professor Elm. At the beginning stages of the game, this travel's pretty easy. Having just one Cyndaquil is pretty much expected for this part of the game, so everything's really straightforward gameplay-wise. We get to Mr. Pokemon's house, get the package for Professor Elm, which happens to be an egg, and meet Professor Oak while we're there, where he gives us a Pokédex. Thanks, dude, but you've got the only Pokemon I really need to know about right here. We leave to head back to Elm's lab to give him the package, as well as check out a Pokemon that apparently got stolen from his lab. On the way back, we run into the culprit. Oh, hey, it was that punk bitch looking in the lab window earlier. He stole a Totodile, a feeble attempt to defeat Quilliam with something called a type advantage. Obviously, he's no competition for our superior Cyndaquil. We easily defeat him, so he runs off, yapping about being the best or something like that. Not sure how he'll do that without a Cyndaquil, but hey, I respect the attempt. We make it back to Elm's lab where a police officer is looking for the wannabe that we thrashed in battle only moments ago, so I told the cops his name. Yes, officer, his name was 3 question marks. I don't know either, he literally said that was his name. We deliver the package to Elm, he flips his shit when he finds out Oak gave us a Pokédex, and says to get out there and become number 1 in the world with Quilliam. That was already on my to-do list, but hey, I appreciate the support. Oh, and I told my mom me and my new buddy were gonna go conquer the world. We'll be back in time for supper. At this point, we're out of the tutorial phase of the game, and it's time for some real action. The trainers in this area are all pretty weak though. Sure, they have more Pokemon, but they're all really low leveled, not to mention they aren't Cyndaquil. We make it to Violet City pretty effortlessly and head straight for the flying gym, getting to the leader Faulkner at level 12. Armed with our new fire type move Ember, we easily 2-shot his Pidgey, though it does hit us on the way out with a mud slap to lower our accuracy and do a little bit of damage. Pidgeotto comes out, but it quickly gets overpowered with a few embers, scoring us an easy first try victory. He gives us the TM for Mud Slap, which is a super weak move, but it'll help with Rock as Steel-type Pokemon for now, so I go ahead and teach it to him. On our way out of town to take on our next challenge, Elm calls us to tell us that we need to watch that Pokemon egg that we delivered to him from Mr. Pokemon earlier. I cautiously assure him that it will receive the utmost care and dedication before stuffing it into the box for eternity. While I travel through the next route and Union Caves to get to Azalea Town, let's talk about long-term plans. Cyndaquil's base learn set in this game is, let's say, limited. He only ever learns fire and normal type moves. Normally this would be okay, but if Quilliam's gonna become the best Pokemon in the world by himself, he's gonna want a little more coverage. The TM move list isn't completely kind to us either, but there's a few options. We can eventually swap out Mudslap for Dig, which would be a decent upgrade in terms of power. Still, we don't have much type coverage, but what we do get is Rollout, a rock-type move that doubles in power with each consecutive hit. Landing 5 hits in a row isn't guaranteed, it's only 90% accurate, but if you do, it peaks at 480 base power, which could definitely help us steamroll through some tougher fights down the road. Cyndaquil also learns Defense Curl, which normally isn't important at all, but it does double the strength of Rollout as well to make it even more powerful, so we could get a lot of mileage out of that combo. I should also mention that at this point Cyndaquil has passed level 14, which is where he normally evolves into Quilava, but Quilliam's built different, so he doesn't need any of that, and we can stop the evolution every time. Once we reach Azalea Town, we speak to a local grandpa who falls down a well chasing criminals, so we take Quilliam on a warpath to rid this small countryside village of crime in the old man's place. He also offers to craft us balls. I politely decline. Freaky ass old men out the way, we've got some bugs to squash. We arrive at the Azalea gym leader Bugsy at level 19 with our brand new Quick Attack. Not that that move matters much. We easily one-shot his first 2 Pokemon with Ember, and then quickly 2-shot his Scyther with Ember as well. He barely did any damage to us. That was a super easy first try. All thanks to our truly superior Cyndaquil. Anyways, as we get ready to head out of this backwoods country town, that wannabe punk from earlier finds us and challenges us to battle once more. While he's got Quilliam outnumbered, he's certainly not outgunned. He starts with Ghastly, who goes down quick to 2 Mudslaps. Next though, he sends in his Crocodile, expecting to beat Quilliam with a measly water type. We lead off with a Mudslap to lower his accuracy, then start laying in the quick attacks to wear him down. He does hit a couple water guns for big damage, but between a berry we equipped to stay healthy and him losing turns due to missing attacks and just using Leer for some reason, he went down before he could get us dangerously low on health. Last he sent in a Zubat, but it went down without much of a fight in 2 Embers. Another easy first try win for Quilliam, as is expected of such a fine specimen. While we venture through the Ilex forest to catch a bird with a stick that's on the run from an unpaid intern, we gotta get real for a minute. We've got a problem coming up. The 3rd gym leader, Whitney. Her Miltank has Rollout, and it's going to be doing huge damage since it's super effective against Cyndaquil. On the bright side, the Rollout TM is right next to Goldenrod City, so I should be able to get that on her moveset before we have to take her on. I also purchased the Charcoal item from the Azalea Pokemart, which will boost the power to all of her Fire-type attacks. Still though, I don't expect this to be easy. Miltank is probably going to damage her Cyndaquil faster, and on top of that, it has Milk Drink to stay healthy. I'm just going to fight every possible trainer I can on the way to get as many levels as I can. I also grabbed the Headbutt TM from the Ilex Forest for a better normal-type move than Tackle, grab Rollout from the route just above Goldenrod City, and stick them both onto Quilliam's moveset. Here's what our current move list looks like, by the way. I ended up dropping Quick Attack for Rollout. Our speed's pretty good already, so I'm usually moving first anyhow. On top of that, its low power just wasn't really making it super useful, so I doubt I'll find myself missing it. As I was fighting through the gym's trainers to get to Whitney, we reached level 27 and we learned Flame Wheel, a decent step up in base power from Ember. Miltank is still a little scary, but I think with this big move overhaul, especially using Rollout, we stand a better chance. Will it pan out in the fight itself? Well, starting out against her Clefairy, I went right for Rollout, right out of the gate, hoping to have its power up by the time we knocked it out to clean out Miltank before it can get its own Rollouts and Milk Drinks going. We got off to an awful start, missing Rollout 4 straight times before even hitting her once. I'm serious, look at this gameplay. Yeah, 90% accurate, my ass. Once we landed one we finally got a Rollout going that took Clefairy out in 3 hits, though not before it wore Cyndaquil down to almost half its HP. Once Miltank came out, we landed Rollout number 4 for huge damage, almost one-shotting it. Problem is, it lived, and our 5th Rollout that should have been the final blow missed, letting her get her own Rollout going to take out Quilliam. Considering the huge number of misses against Clefairy that just let it whittle us down, that attempt was kinda kneecapped from the start. Let's just run this back. Yeah, here we go. Second try, and Quilliam hits 3 rollouts right out of the gate to take out Clefairy with minimal damage. Once Miltank comes out, turns 4 and 5 a rollout both land as well to take it out before it can even get its own rollout going. Not bad at all, though it definitely could have been a first try if rollout didn't majorly let us down. I'm not too worried about this next part of the game coming up. Morty shouldn't be too difficult. I don't see that punk bitch who calls himself my rival being much stronger next time around, so Quilliam should be able to make quick work of him. And the Steel and Ice Gems shouldn't give us much trouble either. Chuck's fighting gym might cause a bit of trouble with Poliwrath, but after how well we handled Miltank, I don't see us being totally shut down by one problem Pokemon. Quilliam has the brute strength to muscle through 1, maybe 2 hits of his more difficult matchups per battle, not to mention his higher speed makes him move first a lot, so that really does help us out a ton. Yeah, that's right, Cyndaquil is just that elite. Anyway, once we arrive at our next destination, Ecruteak City, we visit the Burned Tower. Here we meet a weird dude who I'm pretty sure has a man crush on a Pokemon before running into our total pushover of a rival. In this fight, he leads with his Haunter. I just have Quilliam lead off with a rollout to get things moving out of the gate. He uses Spite to take away a ton of rollout uses, but we easily knock him out in 3 hits. I lead off with the rollout to have a strong one ready for his Croconaw, who comes out next and instantly gets knocked out by our turn 4 rollout. He sends out a weak Zubat who gets absolutely obliterated by our last turn of rollout, and he finishes out with a Magnemite which we just one-shot with Flame Wheel. Super easy win on our first try. After this fight, we fall through the floorboards and meet 3 wild dogs, one of whom is actually the strange Pokemon that weird dude from earlier was lusting after, or something like that. I don't know why he's so obsessed, he just is. Anyways, next we hit up the dance hall and bust down with some women in kimonos on stage. We also beat them all in battle pretty quickly, and once we're done, an old guy who is watching them dance gives us Surf for being such a prestigious battler. Dude, we're like maybe 3 hours into this game. Why are there so many creepy old men? I'm serious, what is going on? Alright, you know what, whatever. With that out of the way, it's time for our real next challenge, the Ghost Gym Leader Morty. He leads with a weak Ghastly that just goes down in 1 Flame Wheel. Next is a Haunter, which we just hit with a Mud Slap to cut his accuracy. He misses a Hypnosis, then we take him out with another Flame Wheel. Third is his Gengar, and we hit him with the same routine. Mud Slap to cut his accuracy, he misses a Hypnosis, then Flame Wheel to take him out. Problem is, he actually barely hung on from our Flame Wheel and managed to hit his second Hypnosis. Miraculously, through our 3 turns of sleep, he missed 2 back-to-back Dream Eater attacks. The third one crit though to instantly demolish our health bar and restored tons of his HP. However, we woke up in time to get a Flame Wheel and thank God he used Dream Eater again. It fails since we're awake now and we get the knockout. Last is another Haunter, but the same routine from the first one works. Mud Slap to cut his accuracy, he misses an attack, then we Flame Wheel for the KO. Another first try win in the books for Quilliam. What a fine and ferocious specimen he is. So we're headed west to get to the next couple of gyms. First stop though is the Olivine City Lighthouse. We bump into Mr. Question Marks once more, who throws a temper tantrum because the gym's leader isn't home. We easily fight our way to the top of the lighthouse where we find the gym's leader Jasmine taking care of a sick Ampharos. No, the other kind of sick. She asks us to run an errand for her, so we head across the sea to a beach town across the water for black market prescription drugs that should get Amphi out of his slump. Once we arrive, we manage to acquire the package, but before we head back and cure the Ampharos, I want to take a crack at the gym here. We don't have a type advantage here, and we can't really get one, so this will need to be won through brute force. That said, we're level 40 by now, so our level lead should be enough to just muscle through. That Poliwrath has Surf though, so he might just shut us down. Yeah, that's what I was worried about. We pretty quickly one-shot Primeape without even getting hit, but the second Poliwrath comes out, we don't even hit him for half his health and damage, then he wrecks us with a couple of Surfs. Maybe I can use Mud Slap to cut his accuracy and he'll miss enough? I'm a little skeptical though, these cheap tactics of using water-type moves and dealing super effective damage to Cyndaquil are doing numbers to us. Oh, there it is. On the very next attempt, Primeape just hits us with a super weak Fury Swipes and goes down in 2 Flame Wheels. When Poliwrath comes out, I just hit him with 2 Mud Slaps to destroy his accuracy, causing him to actually miss both of those turns. Then we start using Headbutt over and over, and we actually caused him to lose another turn to flinching. He hits us with 1 Surf on his way down, but it's not enough to knock us out in 1 hit. That went pretty well, but it's what you'd expect out of a battler as ferocious as Quilliam. Next, we head back to Olivine, and on the way back, let me mention that travel is still somehow really easy. It's like as easy as it was at the beginning of the game. I forgot just how low the levels are in this game for quite some time, so even though it's just one little Cyndaquil, Our sheer level lead allows us to blow through any trainer that crosses our path. Anyways, once we get back to Olivine, I get Jasmine's beloved Amphi out of his slump with our previously acquired black market medicine, and go to battle Jasmine at her steel gym while we're in town. She starts off with a Magnemite, which just goes down on one flame wheel. Next is her Steelix, who we mud slap to reduce his accuracy, though he hits a rock throw anyways for a solid chunk of damage. We hit him with a flame wheel next for massive damage, and she misses her rock throw. She heals back up with a hyper potion though, so we just hit her with another mud slap for even lower accuracy. After that, we nail her for a critical hit on flame wheel for the knockout. That went pretty nicely. Last is another Magnemite, but it too goes down in one flame wheel. Yet another first try victory for the Pokemon world's ultimate life form. Alright, our next big challenge is going to be Pryce's Ice Gym, but before we get there, I think we can make our moveset even better than it is now. First, I changed the in-game clock to Sunday so we can grab the return TM from the department store. It doesn't have a chance to flinch like Headbutt does, but his friendship's maxed out by now, and the increase in raw damage will probably be way more beneficial overall than a small chance to flinch. By the way, I just want to say that resetting the game clock in Crystal is the most insane process ever. I'm serious, go look at a guide for this. It is the most convoluted, bizarre calculation imaginable just to get a stupid passcode to unlock the ability to change your time. And you have to do this every time. It is completely insane. Anyways, after this, I went and got the Dig TM and taught it right away as well. Mud Slap's accuracy reduction has been really helpful, but it's an extremely weak move with pretty low PP, so I think long term, it'll just be best to have a stronger ground type attack in our arsenal. I've been considering Defense Curl as well for the buffed rollout, but so far it's already been plenty strong when we've needed the move. Also, Cyndaquil doesn't learn it by level up in this game for some reason, which I totally forgot about, and the TM for it is locked behind Waterfall, so we can't even get it yet anyways. By the way, let me just say I really hope I don't need to grind anytime soon. We're in the level 40s by now, and trainers and wild Pokemon alike are all under level 20. We're leveling up pretty slowly at this point. The low level of everything makes a lot of trainers super easy at this stage, but I know it's going to ramp up soon, and I'm hoping we're at a high enough level where minimal leveling will be really required. Otherwise, it could take a long time to get to a high enough level for some of these fights, especially in the Elite Four. But hey, that's what we have rare candies for, right? After a short journey, we arrive at Mahogany Town, go to the Lake of Rage, which is quite aptly named for the Gyarados in it that's totally flipped his shit, and can convince him to quiet down. Then we go with this Lance guy we just met back to Mahogany Town and figure out why the Gyarados was so pissed off, only to find those bastards from the Slowpoke well earlier are actually abusing Pokemon. Who could have guessed? Anyways, I'm gonna mostly skip over this Team Rocket hideout because the trainers here are all super low leveled, and frankly, they're just super easy to beat. Seriously, there's literally nothing in here that I can't pretty much one-shot at this point. Even the two Rocket executives are super underleveled, so they get swept up easily too. I mean, even the first one's using unevolved Pokemon. He has a Coughing. Like, they're a total pushover. Anyways, once we're done, we knock out a few Electrode with Lance to show off their oversized Minecraft server and get out of this place. With that, it's time to challenge the Ice-type gym leader Pryce. We arrive at level 46 with our brand new move, Flamethrower. He starts off with a Seal, which goes down pretty quickly in 2 hits, but not before cutting our speed with Icy Wind. That might become an issue, but we'll see. Next is his Dugong, who takes a little over half his health and damage from our return, but he fires back with a Headbutt. Not sure why he didn't just use a water move, but okay? We just knocked him out with a second return. Last is Piloswine, but it's a one-shot with Flamethrower. Wow, I knew this was not gonna be hard, but that was like really easy. On our way out of the gym, we get a call letting us know that Team Rocket is up to something else. They're coming up in Professor Elm's Spotify ads, and he asks if we know what's going on. The hell, dude, I'm not your tech support. Anyways, we go to the Spotify headquarters in Goldenrod, and guess what? The guys from the Lake of Rage are back on their bullshit once more, and they're putting their ads in every ad break, even for premium subscribers. I mean, I've heard of Evil, but that's fucking ridiculous. Yeah, all their Pokemon are still super weak. There's a lot of Rocket Grunts in here, but nearly everything is a one-shot with any one of our moves. I still fight most of them though. I want to get all the XP I can. I'm looking ahead to the Dragon Gym, and I won't lie, they could pose a real threat since they all resist fire moves. Anyways, we've reached the penthouse floor of Spotify HQ to save their CEO, but guess what? We got duped. It's another Rocket executive. We swept his whole team and barely took any damage. These guys seriously suck at battling. What the fuck, dude? He then confessed that he shoved the real director in the department store's basement for some reason, so we have to go on a rescue mission and save him. But before we can go beat the living hell out of another dozen or so Rocket Grunts to get to the Spotify CEO, the redhead menace from our hometown appears once more to challenge us in combat. He leads off with his Golbat, so I get a rollout going right away. We take him out in 2 hits, but not before he lands a Confuse Ray. This could be an issue. Next is his newly evolved Feraligatr, and we immediately hit ourselves in confusion twice in a row while he laid in the water guns. It was over before it really started, all thanks to that Golbat at the beginning. Confuse Ray can miss though, so I think a couple more tries of this will solve this issue. Alright, literally the next attempt, we do the same exact thing, but we just don't hit ourselves in confusion, easily taking Golbat and Feraligatr down in 2 hits of rollout each, and one-shotting the Haunter with the final hit of rollout. He also has a Sneasel and a Magnemite, but both easily get one-shot with Flamethrower. You'd think that by this point, the flamin' hot Cheeto hair Cryberry would realize that he'd need a Cyndaquil of his own to win, but, you know, I guess not everyone's cut out to be a Pokemon master. After clearing out the basement of this department store with the most flawless Pokemon ever bestowed upon the Johto region, we reach the room where the Spotify CEO is trapped. He gives us his ID card so we can go take their HQ back. You'd think that a C-level employee of this magnitude would have bodyguards or something, but sure, what the hell. Anyways, we climb the rest of Spotify headquarters, beating even more grunts along the way, none of them really doing much to us at all. At the end though, we finally reach the Rocket Executive once more. He starts out with a Houndour, who gets one shot with Dig, then he sends out a Coughing, which goes down in one Flamethrower. Next is a Houndoom. I meant to hit Dig, but misclicked and hit Return for just shy of a one shot. He fires back with a really weak Feint attack, and we just take him out. Dude, we didn't even get here with full HP, and the only reason I got hit was from picking the wrong move on accident. This so-called criminal organization is a total joke, dude. Anyways, now that Spotify can get back to streaming music to the masses again, we carry on with our journey. We travel forth through the ice path, beating even more trainers with inferior Pokemon until we reach Blackthorn City, and we head straight for the gym and its leader, Claire. You think Quilliam's got what it takes to throw down on some dragons? Well, on our first attempt, things started out rough. She leads with a Dragonair that almost goes down in one return, but then she paralyzes us and takes a good chunk of our health out with a Surf before we can take it down. That's not a great lead. Next is her Kingdra, who nails us with another Surf to take out Cyndaquil. Wow, that went even worse than I could have expected. I think a lot of this could be avoided if that return at the start just did a smidge more damage. Well, I'm not using Flamethrower at all in this fight anyways. I'll just remove the Charcoal and equip a Pink Bow instead for a boost in normal type damage. Next try, and the Pink Bow gets us a touch more damage, but we're still a tiny bit short of a one-shot, so it ends up the exact same. Kingdra demolishes us before we can even land a hit on it. Maybe a different approach? Well, after a few more attempts with some different openings that I was trying, I remembered that the Gen 2 games have a built-in chance for the trainers to miss status moves. We can just try a few more times and see if Thunder Wave misses. And guess what? On our very next attempt, her Thunder Wave actually missed. So we took out Dragonair for free, no paralysis, and we're still at full HP. I landed a return on our Kingdra for just over half its health, but it fired back with a huge Surf, bringing us down to only 40 health. I landed a second return for the knockout, but we are in rough shape for sure. Her third Pokemon is another Dragonair, which we just barely leave hanging with a Sliver, then it paralyzes us. It nails us with a Thunderbolt, leaving us in red health before we knock it out. This is bad. Her final Pokemon, yet another Dragonair, nails us with a Dragon Breath to bring us to only 5 HP. We lose a turn to full paralysis, and then we go down on the next hit. Dude, that was so close, but honestly, that was about the best run we're realistically gonna get. I think with just a few more levels, I can do this a lot easier. Let's get up to level 60 and try again. I know I said this at the beginning of the video, but just for full disclosure, I'm using rare candies to level up at this point. I'd have to be clinically insane to level up from 55 to 60 on wild Pokemon in the early 20s. Besides, I have a day job, I gotta speed this shit up somehow. Okay, first try at level 60, and we're right away off to a way better start. We one-shot the first Dragonair, so we don't need to worry about Thunder Wave at all. Hopefully the same is true for the other two, but first we need to get through Kingdra. We take it out in 2 returns like before, but not before it nails us with a massive Surf to put us below half health. After that though, her other 2 Dragonairs were both one-shots with return, just like the first one. Wow, that turned around real quick. Crazy what 5 quick levels can do for such a mighty beast of a Pokemon like Cyndaquil. Alright, with that win, Claire insists we've won on a fluke, and insists we need to do some bullshit in a cave to prove we're worthy of her gym's badge or something. We go into the cave, talk to this old dude in the temple. He asks us some really easy questions and we pass his test. Claire flips her shit when she hears about this, but after the old guy calls her out on her crybaby ass behavior, she gives us our 8th and final badge. With that out of the way, we're on our way with Quilliam and our motley crew of misfit HM carriers to the Elite Four. I'm feeling pretty confident actually. Will at the start might be a bit of an issue, but I genuinely don't really see Koga, Bruno, or Karen being a huge deal. The champion at the end though, that could be pretty brutal. But hey, we'll see when we get there. On our way to the Pokemon League though, just before we arrive, our old wannabe rival turns up, swearing up and down that his flamin' hot Cheeto head ass is finally worth fighting. Do you think he is? Well, he leads off with a Sneasel, which easily goes down in one flamethrower. Next he brings in Feraligatr, which we hit hard with a return for over half his health and damage. I fear the worst, but he fires back with a pathetically weak water gun. We take pretty small amount of damage and return again for the knockout. Wow, I forgot he still has water gun in this fight. This dude really is pathetic. Third up is his Golbat, which goes down in one flamethrower, followed by his Haunter, which goes down in one critical hit of Dig. Fifth is his Kadabra, which just goes down in one flamethrower as well. And finally is his Magneton, which much like most of his team, also goes down in one flamethrower. Okay, that was ridiculously easy. Even some other Pokemon inferior to Cyndaquil could have done that. Just go home at this point, dude. With that, we arrive at the Pokemon League, ready to challenge the Elite Four and the champion at level 64. But before we do, let's take inventory real quick. I honestly think Defense Curl isn't going to get used. I like our coverage right now, and I can't imagine sacrificing one of our moves for something that's just going to buff rollout, which isn't completely consistent anyways. Our stats aren't awful, but they're nothing special either. I do like our 131 speed. We won't be getting outpaced by much, and even our lowest stat on physical defense isn't too awful. I think with a little bit of luck and some decent strategies, there's very few Pokemon across the league that'll really give us a hard time. That said, we'll see how that pans out. Let me know in the comments if you think we can win this without more rare candies. Alright, let's get after it. First up is Will, and though I'm not too worried, he's got one or two team members that could give us trouble. He leads with a Xatu, and I expect him to try and send in a problem Pokemon next, so I start a rollout in preparation. Problem is, he immediately confuses us and we can hit ourselves to end rollout early, and I get nailed with a Psychic. I decide to just clean him up with a return next turn, but this is a tough start. Next is the big problem here, Slowbro. We shake off our confusion right away and nail him with a return for half his HP, but he sets up a curse. Because of that, our second return doesn't quite take it home, and he fires off a Psychic that lands a critical hit to take us to only 12 HP before we can land the killing blow. This is bad. Third up is another Xatu, and I nail it with a flamethrower for a one-shot. I wish you could hear the sigh of relief from me in that moment. That was so clutch. Next is an Exeggutor who goes down in one flamethrower as well. Last, he sends in Jinx, but it suffers the same fate and also goes down in one flamethrower. A first try victory for Quilliam, though I'm sure with some better luck, he could have done it far cleaner than that. Next up, Koga, the Poison type master. He starts out with his Ariados, which goes down in one flamethrower, easy start. Next is his Forretress, but it too goes down in one flamethrower. Man, for a poison user, he has a lot of Pokemon that are weak to fire. Next up is Muck, so I go for a super effective Dig, but he uses an Acid Armor to tank the hit easily. And then he fires back with a Sludge Bomb that also poisons us. Well, that's great, now we're on a time limit. I decide to get a rollout going, but it's far too late already. The combination of poison damage every turn plus a barrage of sludge bombs easily overpowers us before we can do a meaningful amount of damage. Alright, that was our first try, we can re-strategize. Still, this guy might be an issue that I didn't really anticipate. Second try, and the Ariados and Forretress at the start go the exact same, so we're still at full HP going into Muck. This time I start up a rollout right away, but he responds with a Minimize, which works perfectly for him because we miss the very next turn, and he nails us with a critical Sludge Bomb that obliterates our health bar. Then we miss another attack, and he gets us down to only 12 HP off his next hit. We land a flamethrower for huge damage, but he hangs on and it's far too late. We go down again. I wasn't expecting Koga to be this tough. That said, flamethrower at the end did a ton of damage. Maybe I've underestimated how strong that move is. Okay, here we go. Round 3, and again, Ariados and Forretress are both one-shots. Muck comes out and we effortlessly two-shot him with Flamethrower. He also went for Acid Armor instead of attacking, so we didn't even get hit. I thought my special attack is way better than I thought it was, or Muck has some pretty awful special defense. Anyways, fourth is Crobat, who nearly goes down in one Flamethrower, but he gets full restored to tank our return. I just used return one more time for the KO before he can even land a hit on us. Last is his Venomoth, but much like his Bug-type comrades before him, he too goes down in one Flamethrower. We didn't even get hit once that entire fight. It's insane how one change in my approach flipped the entire script on its head and made an apparent brick in the wall something totally trivial. Third in line is Bruno, though I'm not too worried. He leads off with a Hitmontop, so I just fire off a Flamethrower for an easy one-shot. Next he sends an Onix, so I go for a Dig, but he sets up a Sandstorm. Definitely not looking forward to taking chip damage for the rest of this fight. We hit him for half his health and damage, but he fires back with an Earthquake that does a decent chunk to us. I opt for Flamethrower next, knowing Onix's special defense sucks, and I know that we can't take another Earthquake, especially one while we're digging. And it actually scores the knockout. Third is Machamp, and the Sandstorm is really whittling away our health. We nearly take him out with one Flamethrower, but he hangs on and obliterates us in one hit. Ouch. Okay, well, now I know that I should just use Flamethrower on Onix. Maybe keeping Dig wasn't worth it at all? Second try, Hitmontop goes the exact same, one-shot with Flamethrower. When he sends Onyx in, we go for a Flamethrower, and to my surprise, it one-shots him too. Wow, this move is getting us tons of mileage. Next is Machamp, and he barely hangs on from Flamethrower again, but we burn him to cut his attack. He also misses his Cross Chop this time, so we get away with no damage. He uses a Max Potion to heal up, but it's in vain. We take him out in 2 more hits before he can act. Fourth is Hitmonlee, who goes down quickly in 1 Flamethrower. And last is Hitmonchan, who lands a quick Mach Punch, nearly goes down to a Flamethrower, gets burnt, hits another really weak Mach Punch, then dies to the burn damage. Pretty easy for the mighty Quilliam. Fourth is Dark Trainer Karen, and she leads with an Umbreon, a defensive tank. I try to start a rollout, but I miss, and then she sand attacks me. Well, that sucks. I decide to go for my old reliable Flamethrower, which does a good chunk of damage, and she just hits us back with a weak feint attack, so I commit to Flamethrower and take her out on the follow-up. Next is Gengar, so I go for a super effective Dig, which nearly one-shots him. She uses Curse to take her own Gengar out, but now we're on a time limit. Next is Murkrow, so I try to get another rollout going, but this misses again, so we take a bunch of damage from Feint Attack plus the Curse damage. I miss a Flamethrower again next turn to lose even more health, then get brought to only 6 HP by a Feint Attack. She follows up with a Quick Attack to end the attempt. Sheesh, okay, that looks bad, but I think if we land our rollouts on that Murkrow, this should be pretty simple. I'm just worried about the Sand Attack from Umbreon at the beginning, making this a bit tougher than I expected. Okay, next try starts out rough as she confuses us with Umbreon this time to make us hit ourselves in confusion once before we can even take her out. Gengar curses us while we hit ourselves again, but we shake off confusion and take it out. Since our accuracy is still unaffected and we're out of confusion, I decide to go for a rollout on Murkrow and land it for good damage, but between curse damage and a critical feint attack, we lose again. Surely a better start can get us farther? Again, the CPU trainers can inherently miss status moves. I'm just going to do this a few more times and give it a fair shake before we really do anything drastic here. Okay, on our very next attempt, we get sand attacked at the start, but we don't miss anything important, so it doesn't really matter. Gengar misses his chance to curse us since we're underground and goes down on a critical dig, only getting the chance to lick us once from a missed dig, so we're in really good shape going into the Murkrow fight. We land 2 back-to-back rollouts to take Murkrow out and sustain only 1 weak feint attack. This is solid. Fourth is Houndoom, which is what I figured and part of why I set up a rollout. It paid off because we steamrolled right through it, knocking it out in 1 hit. Last is her Vileplume, but at this point, rollouts become far too strong while we brute force it down in 1 hit. Wow. 1 good turn in luck let Cyndaquil blow through her whole team and only get hit twice. Finally, we reach the champion, who happens to be the cloaked mastermind we met back at the Lake of Rage, Lance. Turns out the dude's a Dragon-type master. This could get hairy. He leads off with a Gyarados, and I try to get rollout going, but miss, and he sets up a Rain Dance. We get the rollout to hit next turn, but he nails us with a Rain Dance boosted Surf for a ton of damage. We take him out on the next hit of rollout, but next is Aerodactyl. Turns out we have enough power built up by now because our third turn rollout one-shots him. Third up is Dragonite, and this gets wild. We miss our rollout, and I thought Quilliam had finally met his match when he nails us with a Hyper Beam, but my goat lived with only 9 HP. We get another rollout going and land 2 back-to-back hits in a row since he has to recharge. On the third turn, he tries for a Thunder, but he misses, and we hit to take him out. What is even happening? Next up is another Dragonite though, and we miss rollout again, letting him easily knock us out. Okay, that was crazy, but I think with a couple less missed rollouts, we can do way better than this. Honestly, I think this is doable at our current level. Attempt 2 starts off strong with us critting Gyarados on turn 1 with rollout for an easy 2-shot, and all he did was set up Rain Dance. We aren't using Flamethrower right now anyways, so I'm not too worried about that. Aerodactyl goes down in 1 hit of rollout like before, but now we're back to the Dragonites. Dragonite number 1 gets hit by our turn 4 rollout to easily get 1-shot, and Dragonite number 2 gets nailed by our turn 5 rollout for another 1-shot. This is going great. Fifth is his Charizard, and our rollout just ended, so I just decide to start up another one since it's 4 times effective. Charizard returns fire with a massive critical hit Hyper Beam to erase a good 2/3 of our health. We land the next hit of rollout though for a KO. Last up is his third and final Dragonite, but rollout lands yet again, knocking him out in 1 hit, securing the kill and the win. That's it, we won! I can't believe we beat Lance in only 2 attempts. Surely this confirms that Cyndaquil is the single strongest Pokemon ever witnessed on the planet, right? Surely. Well, we've won the run and registered ourselves with Cyndaquil in the Hall of Fame for all of eternity, but if you've played the Gen 2 Pokemon games before, you know the run doesn't quite end here. There's all of Kanto to explore, 8 more gyms to battle, and a secret final boss fight with Pokemon Trainer Red. 7 of those 8 gyms are really easy though because they're all lower levels than the Elite Four for some reason, so I'm just gonna breeze over them and skip to the last of the Kanto gyms. The Vermilion Gym, now led by Pokemon Trainer Blue. On our way through Kanto, I make sure to pick up the leftovers item and arrive at Blue at level 75. Blue leads off with his Pidgeot, so I decide to start a rollout right away. We're able to take the Pidgeot down in 2 hits and barely take any damage from his weak wing attack. Next is Rhydon, which I actually didn't expect, so rollout ends up being pretty weak, even with a critical hit. He just sets up a Sandstorm, we hit him once more, then he nails a critical Earthquake to one-shot us. Wow, that did not go as planned. I think the best bet is to hold off on rollout in retrospect. I expected the Gyarados first, but you live and you learn. A better strat should be all that we really need for Quilliam to dethrone Blue. Our second attempt got ruined because I clicked the wrong move, so moving on to attempt 3, Pidgeot goes basically the same as before, so we get to Rhydon with basically full health. We use Dig on Rhydon right away while he sets up Sandstorm, and it hits for decent damage, but less than I had hoped, and he fires back with a weak Fury attack. I followed up with a Flamethrower, but he lived with a Sliver and took us down with a single Earthquake. Dude, this is rough, but I think Flamethrower just did more damage than Dig, so maybe 2 of those is the ticket? Okay, next try, and Pidgeot basically goes the same, but he used Mirror move this time for a really weak Flamethrower. Come on, Blue, nobody does Flamethrower like Quilliam does. Get it together. Rhydon comes out, so I hit it with a Flamethrower as it sets up a Sandstorm. Then a second Flamethrower takes him out before he can actually hit us with a move. Wow, that was much easier than I made that out to be. Next is Gyarados, and I was a little torn on what to go with, but I hit him with a return for just over half his health and damage, and he only set up a Rain Dance. Hey, I'll take it over the Sandstorm damage. Before I could knock Gyarados out, Blue healed him up so he's just back to half health again. I hit him again with a return, but he barely hung on and nailed us with a Hydro Pump to nearly one-shot us, then full restored again. My last returns must have low-rolled though, because the next 2 returns got the KO on Gyarados. This is getting really close. The rain stops as his Alakazam comes out, so I just nail him with a Flamethrower, but he barely lives and finishes us off with the Psychic. Oof, this is really tough, but I think if it weren't for that low roll return on Gyarados, we would have been just fine. Maybe a rollout could work too, since I know that we'll get at least 1 turn where he just uses Rain Dance. I'm gonna try a couple different strategies and see what sticks. Okay, after a couple more attempts, I get this try where Quilliam scores a crit with Flamethrower on Rhydon, so he actually goes down in 1 hit. No Earthquakes and no Sandstorm setup. This could be huge. Gyarados comes out, and I hit it with a return again while it does Rain Dance, but he lives the second return again to take us out from full HP with 1 critical hit Hydro Pump. I just wanted to put this in here because this was a total heartbreaker. By the way, I'm like 7 or 8 attempts in now. Blue still hasn't missed a single Hydro Pump. What is the deal with that? I swear, this dude's on some bullshit. I don't know how he does this. Alright, another couple tries later, and Pidgeot and Rhydon both go down quickly like before, so we return to Gyarados with little damage. This time I go for rollout, and the first hit crits to bring him to yellow health, while he sets up Rain Dance. He full restores to hang on, but the next 2 turns of rollout take him down before he can hit us. Finally, a run past Gyarados with full health, thanks to our leftovers healing back that Sandstorm damage. Alakazam is next, but he goes down in 1 hit to our turn 4 rollout, easy peasy. 5th is Arcanine, who goes for an extreme speed right off the bat to hit us for a decent chunk of health, but we fire right back with our last turn of rollout to knock him out in 1 clean hit. Last is Executor, but the rain has stopped by now, so 1 Flamethrower does him in. Wow, that was tough, but we got there. We had a few serious problems on his team, but nothing Quilliam couldn't get around. We didn't even need to level up more. With that, we're off to journey up Mount Silver and face our true final opponent, Red. Honestly, I have no clue if I can beat this guy, but I'll be damned if I'm not going to give it my best shot. I know Cyndaquil isn't the best Pokemon out there on paper, but Quilliam has seriously surprised me so far, and we all know what this little dude's capable of, so I think with some good attempts, we stand a pretty good chance. We'll see how that holds up once we get there though. At long last, Pokemon Trainer Red. We arrive at level 75. He leads with his Pikachu, so I get a rollout going right away. He missed both his attacks, and we got 3 straight hits to take him out. Good start. Espeon is next, and it's the first thing we've seen in some time that's actually faster than us. It sets up a Reflect, then we miss our turn 4 rollout. Red then nails us with a Psychic to bring us from full HP to only 70, but we fire back with a Flamethrower that nearly takes him out and burns him, although he takes us out before we can land the final blow. That missed rollout really hurt. Surely we got this with another couple of tries though. Well, maybe not. Turns out our first run had some serious luck having Pikachu miss twice back to back, and lightning doesn't strike twice. Time and time again we'd either get our attack cut by Pikachu's charm or paralyzed by thunder, if not both, and Red would use full restores on his Pikachu to keep it healthy, so it would take all 5 hits of rollout to take him down. Then Espeon just comes out and knocks us out in 1 or 2 hits of Psychic. I tried Flamethrower to take Pikachu out in 1 clean hit, but that doesn't seem to really matter. We can't one-shot Espeon, and since it's faster, it just 2-shots us before we can do anything. He used Reflect once in the first attempt, but I genuinely have not been able to get him to do it again, so I think we'll just need to level up. Well, it's the end of the game, and our stat experience is maxed out by now, so we'll just use some rare candies, going up about 5 levels at a time until this really becomes doable. After a bunch of attempts at level 80, we get this one where we finally get past Espeon. Pikachu hits us with a Charm and hits a Thunder, but it doesn't paralyze us, and we took him out on Rollout's 4th hit, so turn 5 nailed Espeon for a one-shot. That's great. Problem is, next is his Blastoise, and he immediately smoked us with Surf. Yeah, I think it's safe to say that this is not happening at this level. Coming back at level 85, and we can now take down Pikachu in 3 rollouts, even with getting Charmed. He also missed his Thunder this time, so we're at full HP. Espeon comes out and we outspeed it now for a critical hit one-shot with the 4th hit of rollout. What are the odds? Blastoise is next, but our turn 5 rollout missed, and he sets up a Rain Dance. I tried to fight on, but the Charm ruined our physical attack so badly we just did nothing. And we still get one-tapped from full health by a single rain-boosted Surf. That sucks, but I see a possibility if all 5 rollouts hit here. Alright, after a bunch more tries at level 85, we have a back and forth with Pikachu for some time, and waste a full rollout on him because Red has mad full restores. The second rollout gets going and takes Pikachu down in 3 hits, but we get Charmed and Thundered in the process. Espeon gets crit by turn 4 rollout again to go down 1 hit, and Blastoise comes out next. We land the turn 5 rollout this time, but he still lives and fires back with a Surf. However, this time we barely hang on with only 16 HP, since this time he wasn't boosted by the Rain Dance, and we get the chance to return fire with a Flamethrower to knock him out. That is huge. However, 4th is Red's Snorlax, so I lead off with a Flamethrower, but he easily tanks it and takes us right down. Honestly, if it took that much of a miracle just to make it through half of his team, I don't see us winning at level 85. As a matter of fact, I can see us needing to be at level 100 just to have a shot, but I'm not going to give up so easily. We all know Quilliam's strong enough to take this guy down. Finally, at level 90, after a handful of attempts, we get this run where Pikachu doesn't hurt us at all, and we crit Espeon for a one-shot on turn 4 rollout, so we go into Blastoise with a turn 5 rollout that hits to bring him just to a tiny sliver of health, and all he does is set up Rain Dance, so we finish the job. Now we need to deal with Snorlax, and I decided on Rollout as he goes for Amnesia. We hit Rollout again for more damage when he nails a Body Slam, which paralyzes us. Right after, he hits us with another Body Slam for more big damage. We lose a turn to Paralysis, then we lose to a 3rd Body Slam. That was a solid run, and Snorlax totally just shot us down. Maybe we need to one-shot Blastoise with the turn 5 rollout? Then the rain won't even be up against Snorlax, so Flamethrower will work better? But I don't even know. This is tough. I thought I had a chance, but man, Red is making this tough even for Quilliam. Going into level 95, I begin adapting a new strategy. Flamethrower to one-shot Pikachu at the start. This means we need to build up rollout power on Espeon and tank some damage in the process, but it does prevent us from suffering random paralysis from Thunder or attack drops from Charm. The problem is that Espeon takes only 3 hits to go down, so Blastoise comes out into turn 4 rollout and barely lives, so he gets to hit us for free. Normally he'd set up Rain Dance for a high enough HP, but since we're low enough from Espeon's Psychics, Red actually sees a knockout with 1 hit and just uses Surf to take us out. It's so crazy how our problems are evolving like this, but I've done several attempts at level 95 and it is just not looking doable. With just a touch more damage, this is doable with our current strat. Maybe level 100 pushes us over the barrier? Speaking of, here's our stats at level 100. We're actually reasonably fast, and our attack stats aren't too bad either, but our lower physical defense is probably what's doing us in, especially against Snorlax. Well, hey, let's give this a shot and see what we can do. Alright, after several failed attempts, due to some awful misses and terrible RNG, we get a run where we one-shot Pikachu with Flamethrower, then 3-shot Espeon with Rollout. Blastoise comes in and dies to turn 4 rollout. This could be our ticket out. Snorlax comes in and gets nailed by our final rollout turn, scoring us a crucial one-shot. Charizard comes in 5th, and I just decide to go with Rollout once more. It hits hard and he fires back with a weak wing attack before we take him down on the follow-up. Venusaur is last, and turn 3 rollout lands while he charges up a Solar Beam. Problem is, our turn 4 rollout actually missed, but we're in luck. The Solar Beam was pretty weak and we hung on with no problem. So we got to follow up with a Flamethrower to take him out, win the fight, and at long last finish this challenge once and for all. Wow, that was an insane way to experience Pokemon Crystal. It honestly wasn't too bad for most of Johto. Kanto was pretty easy except for Blue taking a few tries, but man, Red was a serious brick wall. That said, I'm just glad I won in the first place. Of course, we had to assert the combative prowess of Cyndaquil, the world's most powerful life form. Either way, in all seriousness, I had a ton of fun. And hey, now we know that yes, you can, in fact, beat all of Pokemon Crystal with just a single Cyndaquil. Not that it was ever a question. We all knew this little critter was capable of anything he set his little eye slits on. Now I'm honestly kind of tempted to try this in another game, but it might take a while for that to happen with my schedule and all. Hey, would you guys want to see that? Maybe I go through the generations and try beating them all with just Cyndaquil to see which ones are possible, which ones aren't, maybe which ones you can do at the lowest level. It'll take some time for sure, but it sounds like fun, so comment if you think I should, and maybe I'll take a crack at it. Anyways, I think that about wraps us up. I've been Akina309, thanks for watching this mess, and maybe I'll see you later.